taking it out for a test drive today. See how it goes. Here's the entrance to Shelter Bay Marina. As you can see, there's some rocks on the corner here, so we're just trying to make sure we're all good.
Should we pull up the sail?
Yeah? So what's the overdrive you're talking about?
So the prop's got 2 speeds. The blades pitch in 2 directions, and at 2000 in normal speed we're doing about 6 knots. 2000 in overdrive we're doing 8 knots. So it's designed for motor sailing or motoring in flat water. If you're punching into a sea, you'd want to be in the regular speed, or if you're berthing. Unique to the Glory props, so it seems to work. We'll try it out a whole lot more. Right, who's first to walk the plank? Dad, you're up.
Right, now that we are out on the water and not in the marina, we're going to go ahead and test our water maker, see if that works. Because if it doesn't, that's going to be a big pain in the butt.
Go. Right, so working on unhooking the water maker, and we're just swapping out the activated carbon filter for a new one. When you do swap filters in a water maker, you don't want to fill them with water from your tank if there's any chance it's ever had chlorine in it, because then the chlorine will get into the water maker. So you're better to use salt water to wash out your water maker filters. So yeah. New activated carbon. Chrissy. And that's just for flushing the activated carbon. There's a 5 micron that we've also replaced in the normal saline.
Alright, up the mast again. Today we are installing our Halyard deflector. Simon's already done most of it, but the drill died and we have one more hole left to drill. So that is what I am going to be doing today. And that way this doesn't chafe, and that way it also doesn't ruin the stay. So this mast is super thick. I'm drilling, and don't know if you could see the hole or not, but it's taking a while. Well, the drill died before I could even finish doing the hole. I'm not sure if you can see how thick it is. Alright, the hole is drilled, finally, and now we are going to tap thread using this, so that we can then get our bolt in. Alright, we're going to put some Loctite on our bolt. What this is used for is so that that bolt doesn't wiggle its way out. So this is basically like a type of super glue, I guess is the only way I can think of to describe it. So we're just going to put some right here, and then we're going to screw that bolt in a little bit better. Not before that Loctite dries.
So we just finished fitting our bimini and dodger and the clears. This is the 3rd fitting. First time I've had the clears. There were a couple of minor modifications on the back piece of the bimini and on the dodger. As you can see, we've now got full sides and a front panel. Most of the creases are gone once we tie it down. It's not tied down properly. It's zipped to the bimini and seals across the top of the dodger, and I think it looks bloody amazing. It's going to transform offshore sailing. No more jackets. room is very warm.
This is what we've found, the cause of the warmness. Looks like we've missed having a fire on our boat by just a near miss. Simon noticed earlier that the batteries were really hot when he was doing some of the wiring. This battery here is bulging. It's meant to be completely flat. That's not good news.
And the base is all charred of the battery box.
Now, hopefully we don't have to change the entire battery bank, but we might.
The other thing we've noticed is the volts are up about 0.2 of a volt since we removed the cell from the rack. So I think it's probably a short in here, and that's caused all of our issues. It may have also fried the starter battery and the battery next to it due to the heat it was emitting, so we'll have to see and we'll check that in the morning. But we're going to take it off the boat for now, and then we'll have a good look at it tomorrow.
Yeah, this one's our starter battery, and as you can see, it's bulging a little bit as well.
Right, it's no longer 11 o'clock at night, and we have some daylight and some light to see what's going on. And it turns out the house bank is fine. What's happened is the starter battery has vented and swollen and overheated, and some of that heat's moved across to the house bank, and that's why they felt hot. So we've bought a new starter battery, installed that, had the house bank tested, and we've reinstalled them and run them, and they seem to be just fine.
We are trying to take the solar panel off so we can spin it around and see if it's stable enough to add another one. So we'd like to have double the solar, double the charge.
So the boat, 2 owners ago, had two 100 watt solar panels for a total of 200 watts running through a 7515 Victron charge controller, which was perfectly adequate. The new owner then added a 450 watt panel and kept all the wiring, circuitry and charge controller the same. So it was way over panelled, this was absolutely smoking hot, and the wiring was exceeding its rated allowances. We then added a second 450 and bought a bigger controller, 100/50, so a 50 amp charge controller, and we've just upgraded the cabling. Christina's just finished installing the new solar to battery cables, and we're about to turn her on and hope that it works. So
Cool, and it should work. Simon, is it working? Yeah. Yes, yay!
okay, what we're doing is we're getting set up for the new inverter. Because it's a inverter with a plug, what we have is we've got a European power plug. This end will plug straight into the inverter, and the other end will be spliced into the marine grade plug that will go into a shore power connector, and that should provide power to the whole boat. So right now I'm just stripping the shore power connector. We had a spider with a massive web living in here, so I'm hoping no more little spiders comes out, but we'll get this out and then we'll put the new one in. Oh, I made a cable.
What's the cable for?
Well, right now nothing, but once Christina's mum shows up, this end will plug into the inverter, this end will whack itself into the shore power socket. Right, welcome to the aft cabin. We're doing all the stuff under the bed today, hopefully, and then we can shut it all up and we won't need to get under there again, because all the work in that section of the boat will be complete. So, we have just, I'll spin it around. We have just removed the old solar charge controller that was mounted in here, removed the wiring because it was too small, and wired to the incorrect place. We have then wired in a new larger charge controller, new cabling, and attached it to the correct places on the batteries. Under the main bed we have installed our larger of 2 inverters. It's 2000 watt, and that runs via cables onto the battery bank and then plugs into the boat shore power socket via a white cable here. So this will be just like being on shore power. We need to run a remote for that so we can turn it on and off without having to lift up the whole bed.
that remote is going to be wired in over this side in this hole here. There is a black panel similar to this one here, and we're currently cutting it out. Turns out it's aluminum, so it's a bit hard to deal with. To cut a nice square, mount the switch, and at the same time we've also used that opportunity to replace the breakers. The breakers in there look like this, and they should have been resettable. So these are not the correct breakers. They were a bit of a fire hazard. They're touching each other when they're happening. They're also bent, and they really don't look in good condition, and they're not the correct thing. So we'll tidy up all this wiring. These are for our electric winches, 3 electric winches plus the bow thruster breaker, and then we'll also have our inverter switch on here for the main one. Right, we're planning an instrument upgrade and an instrument install, so there's a couple of places here that I'll point out. We're in the aft cabin today. We are looking at, in the starboard aft quarter, we've removed this panel over here that screws on up here, and up in here are the backs. They're really hard to see in this lighting. The back of our ST60 series instruments, as well as the electric winch motor. Down under here, which is directly above the master bed, is another portal that we've just pulled off, and that runs straight up, and you can see the light at the top. That's actually got a cover with sealant over it, and that's where the chart plotter originally was. Now that was a really good place to have the chart plotter installed, and we're considering moving it back there. The reason for that is that the current location is half hidden by the steering wheel, so you can miss things, but also you've got to stick your hand through the steering wheel to hit the buttons, and that's really not ideal. It's not in a very good place, it's inconvenient, and it's already partially chipped on one corner. So we have a new Axon series chart plotter, which is over here. Marina, and that one there. We've got our C-Torque to C-Torque NG converter with all the cabling except the power cable, and I've made a boo-boo. I'm going to need a T-junction. I've got everything except the T connector. So this cable here will connect into the end to a T, and that will allow me to connect the power cable. So there's currently no power, which is why the install is currently paused. We're trying to work out what to do with that. So we've dangerous target alarm, which is the best news we've had all day, I reckon. So that means the AIS is currently working. Something that wasn't. We thought it was the plotter. The plotter's got a broken port. We were able to deal with that, though we do have a spare chart plotter on board in case that fails, and then we had to deal with the cabling. And anyone who's dealt with NMEA cabling will know it's a bit like dewiring a bomb. There's about 5 different colours, and you've got to match them all up, and red doesn't go with red and green doesn't go with green. So yeah, glad it's all worked out.